this is a chance to get FaceTime with people and meet the people who are using the products, hear their feedback.
There's no end to the creative sounds that you can make as a percussionist.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Midwest Clinic 2024. We're here in Chicago, Illinois, and I have the great privilege of being here in the Tapspace booth with the co-founders, owners of Tapspace, Mr. Jim Casella and Mr. Murrary Gusseck. Jim, Murray, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and for inviting us into your booth. This is kind of a big year for you guys because it's been the first time since the pandemic since you've been back. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we used to come to this show every year, and then the pandemic happened. We stopped coming and stopped coming. And this year is just kind of like a new year. We've grown quite a bit. We have a band method this year. It was time to come back, and it's good to be back with all our friends here, kind of see all the great concerts and see everybody again. And we're happy to be back.
Yeah, eat some great food along the way too.
Yeah.
And no rest for the weary, because we're coming off of PASIC from just last month.
Yeah.
So it's like boom, boom. Did you have time to recover between PASIC and Midwest?
Barely. Yeah. I think the freight from PASIC came back, and basically it was going to be originally a day later. We had to get it going for the outgoing freight to Midwest, but we actually were able to borrow a little bit of extra time. But it's a very quick turnaround. It's a lot of unpacking, repacking. We present differently at PASIC than we do here because it's sort of different audiences that we're trying to, tell our story to. So there's a lot of thought that goes into what we pick, what we present, and how we set up the booth. Plus, we have this new band method, so we have one of the areas of the booth just dedicated to this new band method, which is called the Daily Drill.
And so for the band directors who are in Midwest, they may not be as tapped into, sorry, no pun intended, tapped into Tapspace, being a percussion-specific company, but could you just, for the band directors, what is Tapspace's main focus, and now that we're going into the band world as well?
Sure. Well, our traditional main focus has been primarily percussion. And so what we are trying to do here, we have a lot of band directors who are starting out, they're starting their journey as a band director, they're maybe second year, and they have just started a percussion ensemble, and they really just want some advice and some help picking material that would be appropriate for their students. And they may be an oboe player or a flute player and not really know exactly what to be looking for. So they're just genuinely, honestly looking for advice first. And so we try to help them do that rather than just saying, oh, you need this, and this. We try to just give them some general pointers. We let them listen to pieces, and, hopefully they might walk away with something, or at least some ideas of things that might work for their program. As opposed to PASIC, where we are, people already know us and they're coming for the latest and greatest. So here we're introducing ourselves more to people that don't know us. And then this year we have this band method. It's our first foray into that world. It's not your traditional band method. It's more of a supplemental project called the Daily Drill. And it's, daily exercises, but with really fun play-along tracks. So I know we'll be talking about that in a bit, but so that's a brand new world for us.
All right, so make sure you watch the end of the video so you see that band method book, and we'll have a separate video with Eric talking about that specific book. But if we work through the book, one of the things as a percussionist myself and former band director, not all band programs have the luxury of a percussion specialist. So oftentimes you have the saxophone player, the oboe player, and they're trying to figure out this whole percussion thing. What can I do with my students where they're not standing around playing triangle or suspended cymbal on that piece? One vehicle for teaching your percussionists how to really learn how to play their instruments is through the percussion ensemble medium. And that's a whole, it could be a whole can of worms depending on what you order and what you program. And as a former band director and percussionist, one of the things that you guys are known for is having beautiful engraving. It's all been troubleshot for you in terms of what does the layout look like, and what should I know about this piece before I start? Could you just talk a little bit about how you guys arrived at, it doesn't turn out like this overnight.
Yeah, we've worked hard to try to make it as easy as possible to, get what you need and then right out of the box, it's going to work, that everything's going to be written with ranges intact. You're going to see a very detailed list of all the instruments you're going to need, whether or not they're shared at any given point, whether or not any of them are optional or can be supplemented with, alterations. Like if you don't have a water phone, for example, you could bow a music stand or an oven rack or something. We've tried to think of all those things so that these are the things we spend our time doing. But yeah, even with like the cover design, as you go from the left of our booth to the right of our booth, you'll see that the colors change. And so on the easy end of the booth, we've got yellow covers, and then they go progressively into medium, easy, and the green. Medium is in the intermediate blue range. Medium advanced goes to purple, and advanced is going to be red. And so depending on your program, and I mean, these things are subjective too. They're not like, hard nosed, like intermediate is going to be one thing.
I mean, the challenge is knowing where to get started as a band director. Like what piece should I even program? I have this many number of students. I have these instruments available to me. What piece should I buy?
Well, at this point, what I do as somebody who works at Tapspace and on Tapspace is I pull out my phone, I go to our website, and I use our tapspace.com, thank you, and I use our filtering system to drill down, which will cover the level, the personnel, the number of players, a state list that the piece might be on if you need to get something from a prescribed music list, how many marimbas you might have or not have, number of timpani, vibraphones, whether marimba range, whether its four-mallet technique is required or not. We have all those filters in place on the website, so you can just drill down and get the exact list of pieces that you would be interested in. And then once you click on a piece, you can browse through the complete score, not just the first page, but the whole thing. And we have some watermarks in place for obvious reasons, but you can still get an idea of the entire piece. Like we talked about earlier, the setup diagrams are there. We do our best to make sure that the listing of instruments matches what you see on the setup diagram, which also exactly matches what you're going to find in the score. So, you don't have any unpleasant surprises. You find out you needed an instrument that you don't actually have. So we really try to do the vetting process in a complete way to make it just work for people and make their job a little bit easier. So.
Now, the catalog, you were kind of telling me on the way over here, Murray, you guys have crossed, I guess what did you consider a milestone, but how many titles are now in the Tapspace catalog?
I don't think either of us would probably even know that right now.
The last time I looked, it was about to be 800 pieces, and this was maybe 800 titles total, counting books and things like that. And that was maybe 9 months ago or something like that. So
maybe over 1,000 or approaching 1,000?
We're going to be knocking on 1,000 before too much longer. Yeah.
And you guys just celebrated how many years?
25. Last year we turned 25. Yeah, we're both 25 years old.
That's amazing. Right out of the womb, we're like, Tapspace, baby.
Yeah. We didn't really start this out knowing where it was going, but here we are. Well, 26 years later now, I suppose.
Yeah, what?
Still going strong.
And there's some great podcasts and videos of you guys kind of talking about how it got started. Maybe we can link those in the description, but maybe we can sit down for a longer interview at some point. I'd love to hear some stories from the old days, but does it feel like 25 years? Is it like, whoa, what happened?
Depends on the day. In some ways, no. I mean, I think we both still feel like we're just figuring it out as we go. And I think I don't know any other way to do it. You sort of stumble, you try things that don't work, and you say, okay, what did I learn from that? And, and we've had a lot of luck and a lot of success along the way, but there's been some hard lessons as well, and you're not going to avoid that with a small business. So, but yeah, it's really, what's the word? Sometimes I have poignant moments where I can look at the booth in a situation like this and be like, wow, we have a lot of stuff, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. And a lot of that is the result of just working with really great people. Like we started out just selling the drumline music that we were writing at Vanguard at the time, and it was just our stuff. But over the years, I mean, we probably have over 200 composers now that are in the Tapspace catalog that are insanely talented at knowing our little world and how to do it really well. And we're lucky enough to stand behind that. And I think we make their stuff look really good and sound really good, and frankly, they make us look really good too by writing great music. And so, I guess it takes a village, as they say.
Now, I know there are some youngins out there who might be watching this as well. Can you give them a little history lesson? You mentioned the drum corps thing. Could you just throw out some years and maybe some of the groups that they probably know the groups, but they haven't, maybe they were, this is got,
not born yet.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it like that, but we've all got to that point. We're at that age now but what were the years and some of the groups that brought you guys together that maybe they would be familiar with?
Yeah. Well, Jim and I met in 1989 Santa Clara Vanguard. I was playing tenors and Jim was third bass. And I started in 1 year earlier in 1988. Jim aged out in 1991, and I aged out in 1992. We both taught in various capacities in 1994, and then we kind of came on and, became like the team that I think we're known for starting in 1996. We did 96 through a bunch of other years. I was kind of on some of those years, off some of those years, pursuing other things. But yeah, we taught together for a long time after that.
And then 96 took you guys all the way up until?
Well, my last year there was 2004. I took a year off, started at Cavaliers for 4 years, for 2006 to 2009. Murray had some more Vanguard years in there as well till 2010 or something like that?
08 to 2010. Yeah. And then, there's other, like I went out and did a week with the Cavies one of those years because they were short-staffed. And I think I played the role of Jim Ancona or something for a week. Yeah. And then I did some other groups as well on the way, just some consulting and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been a ride, and I've seen the activity from a bunch of different perspectives now. As opposed to when I was marching, I didn't know anything about any other groups because I was so, tunnel vision Vanguard. So yeah, now I'm a little bit more worldly about my pageantry arts.
On a personal note, if I can just mention that these were the lines that my friends and I grew up watching and just idolizing from afar, just like, whoa. And not that we're sorry about it, 04 was the year that you guys, I was marching 04 at Cavaliers, and you guys were slamming that year, so that's fine. I'm over it, totally, it's fine.
That's okay, you can be bitter about it. Yeah.
Totally, I'm more of a fan now than anything else, so. Could we maybe look at some of the titles over here in terms of the books? And then also I'd love to find out about some of the performances that are going on this week at Midwest. So for the folks at home, if you guys can come over here and see this, but we got two sections here maybe we can take a look at.
Yeah, these over here are more, not necessarily just classroom-based, but they're will be formal and Marima technique for beginners with Julia Gaines's books, and Give Howarth has a book, similar topic, different approaches. But then there's a compilation of cadences that Murray and I both wrote. These are just kind of simple cadences that are loopable and come together really fast.
We have a couple of books that are interesting because they're actually collections of 10 ensemble pieces, start to finish, that cover different aspects of beginning percussion, peripheral aspects. So this one's called Beyond Basic Percussion. This came out in, I think, 2011 by the same authors that do the 5-minute drill and the 9-minute drill books, and subsequently now the daily drill book, that is the band method that I mentioned earlier. But this one's nice because it is a collection of 10 ensembles, and each one of them covers a peripheral area of percussion. There's one piece called Trapdoor, and the entire piece is about trap tables, using trap tables for beginning percussion. Because band directors, I'm sure, are familiar with the, percussionists putting their triangle beater down on the music stand during the soft section, clink, and that sort of thing. So the whole piece revolves around every, member of the ensemble, picking something up and putting it down on a trap table, and how to prep a trap table the right way and that sort of thing. So it's really, really thoughtfully created by percussionist band directors for band directors who are not as well versed in percussion. So it's good that way. And then this book, which is a little bit more recent, by David Ratliff and Eric Sokolowski, is called The Flexible Ensemble, and it is designed around flexible personnel and instrumentation. So every piece is kind of set up into voices, voice 1, voice 2, voice 3, and voice 4. And within those voices, you can mix and match, or use what you have on hand. And, so it's very, very flexible that way. And I'll say flexible one more time because that's what it's called.
Well, it's perfect for the band directors who may not have a fully fleshed out inventory of, waterphone.
Yeah, which is so common these days. Percussion is not just one instrument. It's a world of instruments, and it's becoming more and more mainstream and more a central part of the concert band and just music education in general. So we feel lucky to be in this this kind of category of music because it's super interesting just in general, and we're percussionists, so obviously we're biased, but there's no end to the creative sounds that you can make as a percussionist. And sometimes you have to get creative to make these types of things work. You have to invent instruments or just use what you have on hand.
So inventing instruments on hand, you have the solo collection and the percussion ensembles. I briefly mentioned that it's often the case, and then understandably so, if you're a band director, you're putting out 100 fires at once, and your percussion section, who's the furthest away from you, sometimes will get neglected. The best vehicle to teach your young students how to actually play those percussion instruments is by giving them solos and putting them in those percussion ensemble settings. Do you have some of the OG classics that if someone's watching and they should this is a good place to start, these are always solid, the kids are gonna love the music, they perform well in the concerts. Could you just highlight some of those for us?
Sure. Well, I mean, one of them, the first one that comes to mind is the first percussion ensemble we ever published, which is called Technology, which Jim wrote. And it's actually not on the rack right now.
He didn't make the cut. He made the cut, yeah. He's going to show Furious later when he shows up.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot that does, I think, what you're alluding to. And I kind of, I'm hesitant to single one out, but, one of our composers is John Herndon, and he really understands the sweet spot between, pieces that are accessible. Like this one's called Begin Transmission. Most of his titles that we have are aimed at the beginners, so that he really understands the right level to write at, but he's able to do it in a way that is still creative and not just, just notes for the sake of notes and kind of dorky or what have you. It's like thoughts put into it. There's musical statements and phrasing, and he targets different skill sets with different pieces and things like that. So, Begin Transmission is one of our more solid ones, I would say, for sure. Alarm is a piece of ours that we've had since, I don't remember when we published this, but it's by Brian Bloom, another one of our prolific composers, and also one of our editors who's really been lately very instrumental in helping us produce new work. He actually works for us on the production side. He's a fantastic player and composer as well. And this is a piece which is, based around this type of arc setup where you have, a central concert bass drum and then various drums, snare drums and toms off to the sides. And a lot of rhythms are shared and subdivisions are shared, accents trade around. This is our medium easy level piece, so it's not necessarily for straight beginners, but it's just an example of a piece that is accessible and not too hard to program for a director that, especially if they're looking for something that's drummy and high energy. So that doesn't get long to set up either, since it's just drums. Right.
I feel like we see the setups and people see the setups, but if you have ever ordered a piece that doesn't have it set up for you, and if you're not a percussionist and you don't know how to kind of take into consideration, well, I've got to go over here and then maybe this is doubling with this person. Just having that cheat code, it's like a video game cheat code, it makes your life so much easier and you can just get to the playing and the teaching part of things.
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, so a lot of this stuff, well, not a lot of this stuff, but we have several performances actually here at Midwest. This is, if you're a music educator, you're invited to perform here at Midwest. It's a pretty big deal. This is kind of like kind of a pinnacle moment for a lot of these directors. And when they program our pieces on their concerts, sometimes it's the best we've ever heard these pieces performed, because these ensembles are so high caliber. I just got back from a rehearsal earlier today where Cedar Ridge from Austin, Texas was playing a piece I wrote called The Scuttlebutt. It's their band concert, but in the middle they're doing a percussion feature, and it's just the percussion ensemble, which is super cool. Which just kind of plays to my point earlier about how percussion is becoming more a central part of our music education, criteria. On the other end of the spectrum, like tomorrow's concert at Vandergrift High School is playing a brand new piece by Tom Rarick. Joe Hobbs did an arrangement, Dance of the Jesters. Tom Rarick's piece is called Valor Day, by the way. I didn't mention that. But he just sent me a recording of the students playing this at a super high level. A lot of notes of very mature ensemble performing. Saratoga High School from the Bay Area, right near where I grew up in Cupertino, actually. They're opening tomorrow's concert with a piece I wrote called Beyond the Clouds, which I wrote for Joe Hobbs at Vandergrift, just as serendipity would have it.
And premiered at...
And premiered here at Midwest, actually. That's actually, another thing about Midwest is that like a lot of these concerts end up having commissions, like premiered pieces of commissions that are written specifically for these ensembles. And then it becomes, in this case, like a part of our catalog, and it lives on, and it kind of has legs. And Midwest kind of fosters that growth in new music, and we really value that. Scott Johnson, who we both marched under at Vanguard, actually, he's closing out the Saratoga concert tomorrow with a piece by Rick Diora called Flesh and Bone. So it's just kind of a funny Venn diagram of all these parts of our lives coming together, and like getting to see it on stage performed at a really high level is it's pretty humbling, actually. So we're really proud.
Yeah. When you come to these large events, sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming because there's so many people and so many booths, but just hearing you guys, mention this group and that group and this person, it's all these full circle moments overlapping one another. You realize just how personable and tight-knit the community really is.
Yeah, and I think the trade shows it's the one time of the year, or in our case 3 times a year, because we do 3 shows, where we actually get FaceTime with customers, because we're an online-based business. So we have a lot of email dialogue and, certainly text dialogue with some of our friends that are also in the catalog as well. But, this is a chance to get FaceTime with people and meet the people who are using the products, hear their feedback. And, for better or worse, like most of the feedback is positive, and that, of course, is very gratifying because we work hard to make the stuff look and feel good, and be easy to use. But, occasionally we'll hear some, like a little comment about, you might want to do a little bit more of this or less of this, or I wish this piece didn't do this. I'm not, specific examples. Maybe like, maybe we have a piece where there's one low C on a marimba note and in the whole piece, and the rest of it would fit on a 4 1/3 octave instrument. Well, we could have foreseen that and maybe suggested a substitution note or, worked that out with the author. But, we will take that to heart and, put it in the storage bank for next time. And, so, just point being, the interactions are great. And it means a lot to us to be able to see people face to face and have a conversation with them, because most of the time we're in our little percussion, arrangement dungeon, just making the donuts, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, if I can also just add on a personal note, you guys have always been so nice to us and seeing us around, and, we're kind of the young guns who are looking up to you guys, and really appreciate you guys, just being such normal people and humans, and just thanks for taking the time, and thanks for always being there with a smile and a hello.
Oh, I'm back at you, man.
Thank you.
This is really cool that we get to do this.
So if people want to find out more about Tapspace, where could they go?
www.tapspace.com.
Yeah, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever it's called now.
Instagram.
Yeah, YouTube. We've got a pretty popular YouTube channel as well. So search for Tapspace. You'll find us. We're out there.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Jim, thank you so much. Murray, I appreciate you so much. Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching. If you weren't able to attend Midwest this year, make sure you look out for Tapspace at TMEA, of course, PASIC, and hopefully Midwest next year as well. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching.
So there's amazing play-along tracks with this that are meant to take things that are generally what we would consider drier types of exercises and liven them up a little bit. So it's useful for all instruments. And one of the things I'm really proud about is because we are percussionists and I'm a band director, we wanted to make sure that percussion had something that was really robust.